Hello, and welcome to today's stream. For the topic of reading and discussion today, I will be reading from an article, a scientific article called Dreaming and the Brain, from Phenomenology to Neurophysiology. This was published in 2010 and is written by Yuval Nir and Giulio Tononi. No guarantees on the pronunciation there. Thank you for joining me. I am looking forward to reading some about this topic. I make a somewhat amateur study of dreams myself. I have several notes about the phenomena that I see in my own dreams, and from what I can gather from my memories and attempts at lucid dreaming. But this article will describe a more a scientific approach, which of course must necessarily be studied from the outside. I think in that way dreams sort of defy the scientific method. They're extremely difficult to study and create hypotheses for, and for that reason they remain much of a mystery even as we continue to learn more about the brain. But this article is an example of one of those attempts, so we should get started. Quick note, they use the word phenomenology. If we look that up, it means an approach that concentrates on the study of consciousness and the objects of direct experience. The philosophical study of the structures of experience and consciousness. So they're going to focus on that and neurophysiology. Abstract. Dreams are a most remarkable experiment in psychology and neuroscience, conducted every night in every sleeping person. They show that our brain, disconnected from the environment, can generate by itself an entire world of conscious experiences. Content analysis and developmental studies have furthered our understanding of dream phenomenology. In parallel, brain lesion studies, functional imaging, and neurophysiology have advanced our knowledge of the neural basis of dreaming. It is now possible to start integrating these two strands of research in order to address some fundamental questions that dreams pose for cognitive neuroscience. How conscious experiences in sleep relate to underlying brain activity, why the dreamer is largely disconnected from the environment, and whether dreaming is more closely related to mental imagery or to perception. Contemporary dream research. Although dreams have fascinated us since the dawn of time, their rigorous scientific study is a recent development. And it links to a supplementary figure, which is actually a different document that that was provided up here that I've downloaded, and it the figure one is this timeline here. Milestones in the modern history of dream and REM research. So at around 1850, it looked like some individuals proposed that dreams are a brief reaction to peripheral stimuli triggering illusions of sensation. I think that means the body would experience stimuli during sleep, and that would trigger illusions in the dreaming mind. And then it progresses from there. Someone studied the visuals. Freud had his ideas. The EEG was invented or discovered. Interesting. Allowed measurement of brain activity. Uh, 1949 found something that suggested that sleep and waking are subject to active control. The discovery of rapid eye movement, REM sleep. Confirmation that REM sleep is correlated with dreaming, and establishes that REM sleep occurs in cats and in humans. And I think most mammals, if not most animals, I should look into that. Muscular atonia in REM, that means the sort of paralysis that is experienced during dreaming. Although the concept of paradoxical sleep, I don't know what that means. In 1966, some scientists established a rigorous system of content analysis, showing that dream content is consistent over time and continuous with waking emotional concerns. In 1997 studied brain lesions and dreams together, indicating that dreaming primarily depends on cortex and white matter, so the physical components of dreaming. Studied children's dreams and its relation to the development of other cognitive skills. The AIM, Activation Input Source Modulation Model of Dreaming and Conscious States. And that was in 2000, so these are like the landmarks of dreaming. Can I copy this? I also, as I read here, I wanted to take notes. Oh, I tried pasting in the image, but something has gone wrong. Oh no. I crashed my document. That's a bummer. Oh no. I crashed the browser. Oh, there it goes. Apologies for the interruption there. Interesting. This is not a valid selection. I just wanted to... Why? Oh, let's do this instead. I will just make a copy of my screen. Take that, incompatible platforms. Yeah. Alright, let's continue here. the interpretation of dreams, Freud predicted that deeper research will one day trace the path further and discover an organic basis for the mental event. Recent work begins to fulfill Freud's prediction. The study of dreams is a formidable task because dream consciousness is only accessible via report rather than direct observation, and because it is difficult to manipulate dream content experimentally, whether by exposure to stimuli before or during sleep. Therefore, it is difficult to predict the contents of specific dreams, and most modern dream research tries to relate neuronal activity retrospectively to dream form rather than dream content. In other words, to focus on properties of all dreams rather than to investigate the neural correlates of a particular dream. Yet, as we shall see, encouraging progress has been made in relating the phenomenology of dreams to underlying brain activity and to studies of brain damage and development. This box 1 was referenced up here. Can reports be trusted to accurately convey internal experiences in sleep? Do dream reports obtained by awakening a sleeping subject accurately convey subjective experiences in sleep? At one extreme, we could be fully conscious throughout sleep, but remember dreams well, little, or not at all, depending on the brain state when we are awakened. Indeed, we know that dreaming often goes unreported. Some people claim they rarely dream, but systematic awakenings in sleep labs have revealed that we greatly underestimate how often and how much we are conscious during sleep. On the other hand, neurological patients who report loss of dreaming are no more likely to have memory disorders than those who report dreaming, suggesting that lack of dream reports indeed reflects lack of experience rather than changes in memory alone. Further studies may illuminate this issue since, for example, memory-related regions in the medial temporal lobe are highly active in REM sleep. And there is a diagram of different types of brain activity observed during REM sleep. Before we continue, I should make my notes a little more comprehensive. Phenomenology, the study of consciousness and the the components of direct experience. And I was thinking too, as I was, after I had decided to read this article, I was thinking about some of the similarities of experience between when I'm awake and when I'm asleep. And in both cases, in both cases, I definitely have a sense of self-awareness. I'm going to call it the sensation of self-awareness. It's sort of an internal proprioception, which basically means I mean, it's not a sensation in the same way, I don't know, like taste is a sensation, but it's definitely a sense of some kind. There's also my memories associated with being myself. There's also the time, chronological awareness. What else do we have? I'm going to say agency. The ability to make decisions. And I would say that these are still available in dreams to some extent. This one can actually go away sometimes. I don't know if any of you are the same. But especially more in the past, I have dreamed in third person before, where I'm not really a character in the dream, but I'm essentially just watching other characters and I have no awareness of myself as an entity in the narrative. So I think that can be actually a little bit limited at times, but that is actually pretty rare. I kind of wanted to, let's see. So I'm going to make that like a dark gray. My memory recall goes way down. Even when I'm lucid dreaming, I've found that I don't know if I can't or I don't, but I generally don't recall anything from my waking life directly. I will usually I'll remember things in the dream, and maybe I'll know like things about my life, but I won't remember them directly. So I'm going to make that quite a light gray, actually. Chronological awareness I maintain in dreams. Agency, I feel, goes way, way down. Occasionally I will make decisions, but not very frequently. That's a little bit more than memory recall, though. Lise in the chat suggests to be able to feel yourself in space. That's true. I would say physical proprioception, but I don't know that that's not physical. Proprioception is, I think, inherently internal. So physical. I don't know, physical location. Is that even a sensation? No, maybe physical proprioception is the accurate term there. I would say I maintain that when I'm a character. But if I'm not a character in the dream, I don't have any of that for sure. Okay, that's the right color there. Okay, I'm gonna continue here. We're still in box 1. At the other extreme, one could claim that we are unconscious throughout sleep and merely have a tendency to confabulate during the transition into wakefulness. While such a claim is hard to refute conclusively, just as it is hard to prove conclusively that one is not a zombie when awake, a philosophical zombie. It seems highly implausible when one has just experienced a vivid dream. It seems hard to believe that it was made up in a flash during an awakening. Indeed, the estimated time in dream report correlates well with the time elapsed in REM sleep before awakening. And B, in REM sleep, sleep behavior disorder, where muscle atonia is disrupted, movements seem to match the reported dream. That's cool. Reports obtained from awakenings from deep NREM sleep are more difficult to evaluate because of disorientation associated with increased sleep inertia. I actually am not sure what NREM sleep is. Google it real quick. Oh, NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep. Okay, so everything that just isn't REM is dreamless sleep. And when you wake up from dreamless sleep, there's more disorientation. However, some evidence indicates that indeed dream consciousness can occur in NREM sleep and does not merely reflect recalls of earlier REM sleep dreams. It is sometimes possible to influence dream content by sounds delivered in NREM sleep and to tag NREM reports. Some NREM parasomnias, like sleep talking and sleep terrors, correspond to reported dream experiences. And C, full-fledged dreams are sometimes reported upon awakening from the first NREM episode, before any REM sleep occurred, and even in naps, consisting of only NREM sleep. I think that's probably worth writing down. I would say it's commonly known that dreams are a property. Dreaming is a property of REM sleep. However, there is evidence that NREM deep sleep, no rapid eye movement, may also be a state in which dreams occur. Phenomenology of dreams and their relation to brain activity. The level and nature of our conscious experience varies dramatically in sleep. During slow-wave sleep early in the night, consciousness can nearly vanish despite persistent neural activity in the thalamocortical system. And so we do lose all of these things. As you fall asleep, all of these just disappear. Subjects awakened from other phases of sleep, especially but not exclusively during REM sleep, report typical full-fledged dreams. And dreams here are defined as vivid sensory motor hallucinatory experiences that follow a narrative structure. The dreamer is highly conscious. She has vivid experiences. It is disconnected from the environment. She is asleep. But somehow her brain is creating a story, filling it with actors and scenarios, and generating hallucinatory images. How does the brain accomplish this remarkable feat? And conversely, what do dreams tell us about the organization and working of the brain? Lise in the chat asks, personally, do you think dreams have a scientific purpose? I'm not sure what you mean by purpose in this case. Do they have scientific value? Almost certainly. In fact, I believe they will eventually have technological value. As you may or may not know, I am a virtual reality enthusiast, and what excites me about dreaming is that it's VR technology that we experience every single night that our brains just do inherently. And if we can tap into that, and if we can learn how to manipulate it and how it works, we will be able to develop extremely immersive experiences and be able to explore our internal reality, I think, to a really profound degree. I'm quite interested in that. I know it's quite speculative, but that is something that I am excited about for the future someday. As for my own dreams, what I try to do with my dreams is, I know it's a little bit foolish to attempt because there's so little data I can gather, but I really am interested in reverse engineering my dreams a bit. In particular, one thing I focus on is the flow of information in dreams. For instance, a dream character or an NPC, do they have their own set of information? You know, they're active agents, or they appear to be active agents. Do they share a set of information with the rest of the dream? Or do they have their own sets of information that are used to guide their own behavior? That is a question that I actively investigate and try to take notes about. But dreams are inherently illusory experiences, which means that, of course, anything in a dream can be an illusion, including the illusion of information flow. For instance, occasionally when I have the lucidity to do so, and if I know that I'm in a dream and surrounded by dream characters, I will try to think verbal thoughts to try to ascertain whether the dream characters can read my mind. And again, it's a little bit of a fool's errand because even if they can read my mind, the illusion narrative of the dream might impose the sequence of events that suggests that they can't. But my plan is to gather enough data to at least to hypothesize about it and see if any information can be gathered about the way the dream is constructed. What is the logic of dreams? And so that is my attempts on an individual level to participate in this body of knowledge and information. We'll see if I get anywhere. If I do get anywhere, I will let someone know. Probably you guys. Okay. Alright, we're going to focus on neural activity during REM sleep to gain insight into brain states that are compatible with dreaming. But dreams can occur during NREM sleep and other brain states. Similarities and differences between dreaming and waking. It's kind of what I've tried to do here. Let's see what Perhaps the most striking feature of conscious experiences in sleep is how altogether similar the inner world of dreams is to the real world of wakefulness. Indeed, at times the dreamer may be uncertain whether he is awake or asleep. Have you ever had one of those dreams where you dream that you wake up? Those can happen a lot, especially if you ever try to experiment with lucid dreaming, and you can go through several cycles of those, where you dream that you wake up, and then you realize you're dreaming, and then you dream that you wake up again, and then you realize that you're dreaming. It's only happened to me a couple times, but those are usually very vivid experiences. Certainly, dreams are not created in a vacuum, but closely reflect the organization and functions of our brain. In most dreams, perceptual modalities and submodalities that dominate in wakefulness are heavily represented. Dreams are highly visual, in full color, rich in shapes, full of movement, and incorporate typical wakefulness categories, such as people, faces, places, objects, and animals. Dreams can also contain sounds, and more rarely tactile percepts, smells, and tastes, as well as pleasure and pain. I really don't experience pain very often in dreams. I have before, but it really is pretty unusual. Pleasure that's in dreams. I've experienced that before. I think I've recently had a smell in a dream. I would say smell and sounds are actually maybe the rarest thing that I experience in dreams. Although one notable dream I had involved the performance of music that I suppose my dream environment composed the music, and in the dream it sounded really good. I can't do that in real life, though, so who knows? These phenomenological similarities are reflected in neurophysiological similarities between waking and dreaming. Let's see, for historical and methodological reasons, brain activity during quiet wakefulness, with that observed during REM sleep. At least superficially, the EEG looks very similar between active waking and REM sleep. Positron emission tomography is, I guess, another type of imaging, have shown that global brain metabolism is comparable between wakefulness and REM sleep. So your brain is consuming as much energy while it's awake as while it's asleep. Strong activation of high-order occipitotemporal visual cortex in REM sleep. So your visual system. We could have predicted that. There is also remarkable consistency between a subject's cognitive and neural organization in dreaming and waking. For instance, children's studies demonstrate that dream features show a gradual development that parallels their cognitive development when awake. And we'll read more about that in box 2. Patients with brain lesions that impair their waking cognition show corresponding deficits in dreams. For example, subjects with impaired face perception also do not dream of faces. That makes sense to me. You know, so far they haven't mentioned most of this stuff. The development of dreams in children. Children under the age of 7 reported dreaming only 20% of the time when awakened from REM sleep, compared with 80 to 90% in adults. Preschoolers' dreams are often static and plain, such as seeing an animal or thinking about eating. Oh, There are no characters that move and no social interactions, very little feeling, and they do not include the dreamer as an active character. Okay, so that would go back to this. There are also no, and including the agency. This belongs up here. There are also no autobiographic episodic memories, perhaps because children have trouble with conscious episodic recollection in general, as suggested by the phenomenon of infantile amnesia. I think that just means babies don't retain memories past a certain point. Preschoolers do not report fear in dreams, and there are few aggressions, misfortunes, and negative emotions. Note that children who have night terrors are probably terrorized by disorientation due to incomplete awakening, rather than by a dream. Thus, although children of age 2 to 5 can obviously see and speak of everyday people, objects, and events, apparently they cannot dream of them. Between ages 5 to 7, dream reports become longer, sequence of events with characters, but narratives are not well developed. At around age 7, dream reports become longer and more frequent, contain thoughts and feelings. The child's self becomes an actual participant, and dreams begin to acquire a narrative structure. Narrative awareness. Dream recall is found to correlate best with abilities of mental imagery rather than language proficiency. I wonder if... So you may know that aphantasia is a thing where you can't imagine a image in your mind's eye. You can only... I don't know exactly what. You can only imagine descriptions of something rather than the visual element, but surely those people who have aphantasia still dream visually, right? I should ask someone. People who are blinded after the age of 5 to 7 seem to have visual imagination and dream with visual imagery throughout life, while blinding at an earlier age leads to absence of visualization in both waking and dreaming, though dreaming in blind individuals is a subject of debate. I wonder what the nature of that debate is. There's like a Q&A video series on YouTube of someone who's blind that I've seen before, and there's probably more than one, but I wonder if he talks about dreaming. It seems likely to me that the dreams just don't have a visual component, and that's the only difference, but I don't know. The slow development of full-fledged dreams and their intimate relation with imagination casts doubts on whether animals can dream as we do. It is likely that animals, too, can be conscious during sleep. While a cat may experience images and emotions in sleep, it is less likely that these experiences are tied together by a narrative, as is the case in our typical dreams. Altogether, what kind of dreaming consciousness an animal has may reflect the extent to which it is conscious in general, and both waking and dreaming consciousness are best viewed as graded phenomena. It doesn't actually seem very far off that we may be able to get an actual visual information of what an animal might dream. I know that studies on capturing visual brain activity from the visual cortex and reconstructing images from it. I know that that's been done. I don't know the extent to which it's been done, but every so often I will hear some news about research on it. Maybe that'll be the topic of another study session. The primary source of neuropsychology of dreaming is a study by Solms, who examined 361 neurological patients and asked them in detail about their dreaming. Lesion studies indicate that dreaming depends on specific forebrain regions rather than on the brainstem, or brainstem REM sleep generator. In most cases, cessation of dreaming, so like when dreaming stops, follows damage in or near the temporoparieto-occipital junction. Okay. Strongly suggests that mental imagery is the cognitive ability most related to dreaming, though a link between loss of dreaming and aphasia has also been suggested. What is aphasia again? Oh, loss of ability to understand or express speech. Right. Okay. More restricted lesions produce the cessation of visual dreaming, or the disruption of particular visual dimensions in dreams. For example, lesions in specific regions that underlie visual perception of color or motion are associated with corresponding deficits in dreaming. In general, it seems that lesions leading to impairments in waking have parallel deficits in dreaming. Importantly, many brain-damaged patients report no changes in dreaming, indicating that the neural network supporting dreaming has considerable specificity. Dreams also reflect our interests and personality, just like mental activity during wakefulness. Personal anxieties we experience while awake, such as being inappropriately dressed, being lost, or being late for an examination, can appear in dreams that involve social interactions. Dreams are quite stable over time in adulthood and share many characteristics across cultures. In addition, we feel we are personally participating in many dream events. What makes dream consciousness so fascinating are the ways in which it differs from our waking experience. Reduced voluntary control and volition. We are generally surprised on awakening from a dream, mainly because we didn't consciously will that we would dream it. In fact, during dreaming, there is a prominent reduction of voluntary control of action and thought, the agency. We cannot pursue goals and have no control over the dream's content. The fact that we are so surprised, excited, and even skeptical about lucid dreaming illustrates how dreams normally lack voluntary control. I will say, even during lucid dreaming, my agency is not it's not at full capacity. Even in lucid dreams, I'm pretty carried away by the momentum of the dream and not so much. I don't have as much opportunity to make decisions. Reduced self-awareness and altered reflective thought. Our dreaming consciousness consists of a single track. We are not contextually aware of where we are, in bed, or what we are doing, sleeping, dreaming. there is a strong tendency for a distinct narrative of thoughts and images to persist without disruption. Indeed, reports of mental activity in REM sleep are longer than reports obtained from awake subjects. Dreaming is almost always delusional, since events and characters are taken for real. Reflective thought is altered in that holding contradictory beliefs is common, and a dreamer easily accepts impossible events such as flying, inconsistent scene switches, sudden transformations, and impossible objects. I find that important because when it comes to my reverse engineering goal, because whatever the logic is that the dream uses is the same logic that our consciousness uses to experience and perceive the dream. But it's a logic that can be, it indicates that these things that we experience, self-awareness, proprioception, narrative awareness, these things are somewhat, they're not closely coupled or closely tied to the contextual knowledge of the world we're in. If someone starts flying around and I just completely accept it, it doesn't disrupt my understanding of the world, or understanding of myself, I suppose. My self-awareness, I don't know, it's cognitively separate from the context that it's in. I don't know if that's relevant, but it seems interesting to me. Elise asks a question. I hope I'm saying that right. Is there a significant difference in brain activity between simple dreams and lucid dreams? That's something I'd like to know as well. Lucid dreaming, evidence and methodology. Let's see if we can find this article. Well, this is behind a paywall. I think probably all of these will be, but we can check it out. So I know that lucid dreaming studies have been done, but as difficult as dreaming is to study, I think lucid dreaming is even more so. I don't think this has the full text either. Doesn't look like it. Download options, no. External links. I'd have to have access to Cambridge University, apparently, in order to get access to this one. That's a shame. Well, we might encounter others, but throughout this entire article, there's only 4 mentions of lucidity. And one of those is a citation. So, yeah, I don't know if we're going to find that information here. But it is a very good question. And I actually kind of doubt that there is a difference in brain activity between standard dreams and lucid dreams because of how it mentions brain activity during wakefulness is almost identical in its patterns to dream activity during REM sleep. And if that's the case, if lucid dreaming were different, it would be measurably different from both dreaming and wakefulness, which actually would be a very interesting, that would be a very interesting result. My hypothesis would be that that would not be the case, but hypotheses should be tested, and I hope this one has. Let's see. There is often uncertainty about space, time, and personal identities. That's certainly true. NPCs in my dreams will often be like combinations of people I know, or look one way but are identified as another. It's interesting. Reduced self-monitoring in dreams may be related to the deactivation of brain regions. So during sleep we have all these deactivations in our brain, right? Because we don't need to operate. There's a lot of systems that are deactivated, and maybe that's related to reduced self-awareness. However, some dreams may have conserved reflective thought processes, such as thoughtful puzzlement about impossible events, contemplating alternatives in decision-making, reflecting during social interactions, and theory of mind, demonstrating that individual dreams can differ from each other substantially. Usually when I experience this thoughtful puzzlement about impossible or any events, that usually precedes coming into lucidity. Unfortunately, my own lucid states in dreaming are very, they're very unstable. They go through a predictive pattern of destruction. When I reach lucidity, the dream will usually split apart, and I will get physical sensations as well in my abdomen, and it feels like an effort of will to try to keep the dream together, and I am essentially never successful. It's very difficult to lucid dream. Emotionality. Some dreams are characterized by emotional involvement, joy, surprise, anger, fear, and anxiety. Sadness, guilt, and depressed affect are rare. Another observation I've had that when I have negative emotions, usually those will kick me out of sleep. I'll wake up, maybe perhaps as an attempt to escape the negative emotion. I don't know if that's true. Even when it comes to fear, I haven't had a nightmare in a long time though, and I really miss them. Some claim that fear and anxiety are enhanced in dreams to a degree rare in waking life. REM sleep is in fact associated with the marked activation of limbic and paralimbic structures. However, emotions are feeble in other dreams and are absent altogether in 25 to 30% of REM sleep reports. Apologies if you're hearing noises coming in from the hallway. My apartment is mostly soundproofed except for the door. Not soundproofed, but it's pretty sturdy against sound except for the front door. Altered mnemonic processes. Memory is drastically altered for the dream and within the dream. In a different way than I wrote it here. Unless the dreamer wakes up, most dreams are forever lost. Upon awakening, memory for the dream often vanishes rapidly, unless written down or recorded, even for intense emotional dreams. It is not clear why this is the case, since from a neuroimaging perspective, limbic circuits in the medial temporal lobe that are implicated in memory processes are highly active during REM sleep. Perhaps the hypoactivity of prefrontal cortex, also implicated in mnemonic processes, plays an important role in dream amnesia. Contemporary theories of dreaming offer different accounts of dream amnesia. For example, according to psychodynamic models, dream amnesia is due to processes of active repression. According to the activation input mode model, dream amnesia is related to a state change involving an activity of monoaminergic systems, chemistry, and the activation of a cortex. The neurocognitive model claims that dreams are usually forgotten because they are internal narratives. Unless internal experiences are tied to external cues, such as times and places, they are bound to be forgotten. I haven't found that to be universally true, but I can see how it would be generally true. Episodic memory is also impaired within the dream. A dream is not like an episode of life being replayed. In one example, where subjects had intensively played the computer game Tetris in the dream, there was no episodic memory that subjects had ever played Tetris. In fact, dreams of healthy subjects were indistinguishable from those of profoundly amnesic subjects. In contrast, both normal and amnesic subjects often reported perceptual fragments, such as falling blocks on a computer screen at sleep onset. Tetris is a good example of that. If you've ever played a video game so much that your initial falling asleep dreams are about it. While residues from waking experiences are incorporated in about 50% of dreams, they do so in new and unrelated contexts. And verified memories for episodes of recent life are only found in about 1.5% of dreams. Such residual recollections have been interpreted by some to suggest that dreaming may have an active role in forgetting. Finally, many have the impression that the network of associations stored in our memory may become looser than in wakefulness, perhaps favoring creativity, divergent thinking, and problem resolution. Traditionally, dream phenomenology has been compared to madness or psychosis, but in fact the hallucinations, disorientation, and subsequent amnesia of some bizarre dreams may be more akin to the acute confusional state, also known as delirium, which occurs after withdrawal from alcohol and drugs. However, most dreams are less bizarre, perhaps more similar to mind-wandering or stimulus-independent thought. Waking thoughts jump around and drift into bizarre daydreaming, rumination, and worrying far more than stereotypes of rational linear thinking suggest. Importantly, individual dreams are highly variable in their phenomenology, and only some conform to the typical monolithic template that is often portrayed. Thus, just like diverse waking experiences, not all dreams are created equal, and future studies should consider different kinds of dreams and their neural correlates separately. There's a lot more material here, but unfortunately, my time is up for now. I very much appreciate you joining me, whether you are joining me live or later on. My cat has joined me. I wish you well, and yeah, if you're interested in this sort of thing, Google Scholar is a great place to search for scientific articles. And sorry, my cat. Oh no. Anyway, there's lots of reading material out there, and perhaps we will revisit this topic again sometime. Oh, sorry. Okay.